What's up, everyone? It's Braxton from the Game House. Starting a new video series for all you NBA 2K junkies. If you're watching, you probably heard the 2K Corner 3 podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. And then the first episode of the 2K Corner 3 show, I am joined by none other than Thomas Lynch, my friend, as well as NBA 2K League analyst and content creator. Thomas, how you doing today, man?
Really good. Really happy to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, no problem. It's funny because I'm sure a lot of people watching have either seen a box score or a highlight video or an analysis by you, and they finally get to put a face with the Irish voice.
Yeah, it's something I've been trying to work on and getting a bit more personality in there.
Hey, well, let's just start off with the basics. So how did you first get into NBA 2K, the video game, and then also, like, how did you ingratiate yourself with the community on Twitter?
Well, I've been into basketball like my whole life pretty much. I played from when I was maybe 10 up until 15 just last year. So basketball was always kind of an interest for me, but then I'd never played it on Xbox or whatever. But then when I was maybe 12, I bought an Xbox One or Xbox 360, and I don't even remember actually. One of the two anyways. But I played 2K11, maybe 2K12, one of the early ones. And I was just hooked on it from there. So I've been playing that ever since, but never really online or anything, like never with friends or whatever.
I got you.
But
when you
just
played
like
basketball, out of curiosity, when you played basketball, what position were you?
Sorry, you kind of cut out there. Could you repeat
that's
that?
all good. When you played basketball up until a year ago, what position were you?
I was a small forward, I think. I mean, because everyone's younger, the height isn't really too much. Like I'm 6'1", so I'm not exactly massive, but yeah, over here that's pretty tall. Like we don't have heights like you Americans do.
Hey man, like I'm 5'11", 6 foot, and I'm like an average height, so that must be nice. Like nah, you're always got to be a point guard or a shooting guard. But I'm like, I don't want to dribble the ball. Like I don't want to do that stuff. Like I'm not good enough to do that.
Yeah, I get you.
So that's how you got started in the game. When did you start your YouTube channel and making content for, I guess, what now is the NBA 2K League? How did that come up?
Well, video making has always been something that I'm interested in since I was maybe, again, 12 or 13. Like when I started like secondary school, I started making videos like just for myself because it was something that I wanted to do. And then like it all kind of came together really. I mean, my interest in basketball, gaming and basketball, and then video making, I kind of thought maybe I can put them all together and make something happen. So I decided I'm going to try and do something 2K related. And then I found Pro-Am, pretty much the game mode, and I decided, that's going to be my thing.
That's awesome. And when I had first found you and started reaching out, I'd asked like, hey, how are you doing all these analyses? You said that these players would send them to you, would send you the highlights of the Pro-Am games, and then you put together all your different analysis videos and box scores. So how did you start developing relationships with some of these players?
I'm not really sure, to be honest. I remember starting off, I used to go into Twitch streams, watch the games, and screenshot the stat sheet as they were up on the stream, and then post them to Twitter. So it's kind of like similar to the box scores. So I'd post after a game a picture of like the stats and stuff, and say, oh, everyone, look at this! Like this game just happened. So recapping and that kind of stuff, that's always been like what I've been doing. So I think it was just from that, messaging people and saying, oh, like, do you want to send me a box score? Or do you want to tell me about a game that you played or whatever? That kind of thing. I think that's where it started.
Gotcha. That's awesome because I know a lot of people right now are trying to build a brand for themselves with this qualification process and this draft process. And it's awesome that you've been able to do that on Twitter and by producing content on YouTube and these box scores that everyone loves. So I guess you're just a step ahead of everyone who's playing, right?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe.
It's all good. So I have a kind of a unique question for you. So in case they can't tell, you're not from America. So what are some of the challenges of being in Ireland and then also being a part of this community?
Well, there's not that many. I won't play it up and exaggerate and all that because it's doable. Like I've been dealing with it and I'm still striving. Like I'm not struggling to keep up, but the time difference definitely is the main one. It's just like it doesn't make it impossible for me to do what I'm doing, but I'm not able to watch as many games as I'd wanted because maybe they're on at 3 in the morning or something for me, but to you that might be 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock at night. But that doesn't affect me too much. That's kind of why I tried to get into analysis rather than anything to do with live, because I knew I can't watch every game. I can't do anything live. So I'll do something that I can just do afterwards and it'll still be relevant, you know?
Clarify, how many years have you actually been following Pro Am and doing content?
Not long at all.
Okay.
I got into Pro Am, first of all. The first time I watched it was the 2K17 tournament, the Road to the All-Star game.
Okay.
But that I didn't know any of the players, any of the teams, anything like that. I watched it like just in my bedroom, like 1 in the morning. I stayed up to watch Throwdown and Top Notch. But obviously at that point I didn't know any of the players. So after watching that the first time, and it was a really good spectacle, you know, like 2K put a lot of broadcasting efforts into it. So that really like got my interest. So then I decided, you know, maybe I can do something. So I, you know, went on Twitter, started looking for people, that kind of stuff. And then just went on from there. You know, I like Famous helped me out so much because I found his account and then I was just looking through and seeing all the stuff that he posted and then watching his videos about the Pro-Am scene, that kind of stuff. That was just great. So that was really where it started.
That's awesome. And was he responsive if you would ever reach out for like questions or advice on anything like that? I
Yeah,
know he's
definitely.
really good. He's one of the best about being active in the community, and still people don't think he's doing enough when he's got a life outside of his Twitter account. But I don't
Yeah,
know. I don't
definitely.
have
People don't appreciate him.
yeah, I don't have 10,000 followers, so I don't understand that struggle. I don't know if I ever
Yeah,
will either. Uh,
yeah, for sure.
so I'm not going to put you on the spot because you've seen so many quality games. You've seen who the best players are. So I'm not going to ask you who the best player is. I wouldn't do that to you. But I do want to ask you, if you were like one of these GMs for these franchises, how would you build your team?
Well, I'd take the best players available for sure, because I know this topic that's going around. You know, do you take role players or do you take the star players if they're there? But I'd probably just take the best, like the most talented players that I can, because I trust that they'd be willing to like take a back seat and put their egos aside. And like, say if you take 5 really, really good players and one of them has to like not score all the points, not handle the ball, you know, spot up and shoot rather than run the pick and roll themselves or whatever, I trust that they'd want to do that and they'd want to just get the wins. So I wouldn't, you know, I'd just take whatever's available, really.
I got you.
Because, I mean, you can adjust. There's so many good, versatile players. Like, loads of players can play any position, really.
Yeah, and I think to that point specifically, because there's such position versatility among the players, um, I think this was a conversation I had with you a while back. We talked about how there's really only two kinds of players. There's on ball and then there's off ball players. And if it was me, like, I feel like I'd have to start my team with just 2 really good on ball players who can sort of initiate and create. Um, but this is where I would differ. I wouldn't exactly take the 5 best players when I'm looking for my off ball guys. I would look for guys who are going to mesh well in this system. But as far as like the point guard, shooting guard, the guys are going to be handling and initiating, like, yeah, you're damn right. I want the 2 best players I can possibly get at those positions. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, no, I definitely take 2 players that are capable of running the offense. So I'll take 2 point guards for the 2 guard spots rather than taking a point guard and then a shooting guard, like a sharp shooting guard.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even just the duos, like Fab and Majestic, say, the 2 of them, they can both handle the ball and that kind of stuff. That's what I'd be looking for. Even Fab and JT in the short while we saw them at Space Jam.
I got you.
That kind of thing, like
Okay.
a duo. That's what I'd be looking for.
So another topic of conversation that's going around, there's been a lot of talk about the current meta, the 5 out and the struggle to play defense. Even if you build a player completely around being a defensive first guy, what are your thoughts about that?
I'm not really a fan of 5 out, honestly. Like, I feel like, obviously I only watch. I don't play it, but
Yeah.
I think it's boring, honestly. It's great seeing all like a point guard, 2 top point guards matching up, but I don't feel like it's entertaining to see them going at each other the entire game with no one else having any sort of impact on the game whatsoever. Because, I mean, there's more talented players than the 2 point guards. Yet, in the stat sheet, all you see is, oh, 1 point guard scored 48 points, the other one scored 38. Like, really, really big numbers. And then you'll have other players who are talented, but they might only score 4 because they took 2 shots in an entire game. Whereas the point guard might take 30 shots. Like, it's kind of uneven like that.
Mm-hmm. And that's a big. I don't want to say it's a problem because it's not a problem yet, but I have to feel like that's a big issue that the NBA 2K League's going to address. Because, like you said, it's boring, and maybe it's not boring to everyone, but if the majority of people don't find it visually appealing, then they're not going to get a lot of engagement with their content and in these games. So, I actually talked to Anthony of the Cavs last week, and he said, full disclosure, there will be an entirely separate mode from the gameplay they're playing right now to address these certain quote unquote flaws in the meta. So technically, the game that these players are playing right now isn't the exact game they're going to be playing if they make the 2K League. So it looks like them and Take-Two have everything in the right. They're going in the right direction with addressing the 5-out concerns.
Yeah, definitely. I'd like to see that because, I mean, like, basketball is not made for 4 players to stand still while one dribbles the ball and scores themselves. You know,
Right.
like the San Antonio Spurs, like ball movement, like their floor spacing is okay, obviously, but the ball movement is something that's really fun to watch, really good and entertaining. That's what I'd like to see more of in Pro-Am.
I'm
Definitely.
not signing up for LaMelo Ball. I'm not trying to see that.
Yeah, exactly.
What was it? So another topic that happened earlier this week, Famous Enough put out a question on Twitter about why should a team draft you? And later, after I'm sure which was hundreds of responses, and I can't even believe he read a lot of them, he said, I'm just seeing a lot of cookie cutter generic answers that don't really make me understand who you are. And I know there's a balance between someone wanting to be appealing to a GM, but also they have to understand, they have to get a sense of who you are for your answers. So if you were going into the draft process, what are some things you'd say about yourself to a GM?
Well, I definitely be as open and honest as possible. I know I've had problems with that loads, showing personality and like being myself. I thought the best way to do things was just to be really professional and that kind of stuff and not give any opinion or show any kind of emotion on anything. But looking back now, it's like I really shouldn't have done that. Like I wish I was more open. So I'd probably do that, and I'd tell prospects to do the same.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I was thinking, if you're a cocky, confident player, be that. Don't try to be like uh, Tim Tebow or someone who's fake if that's not who you are. But
Yeah,
if you're a leader on the court, if you have your life together off the court, like let them know that. Just make sure the message you're communicating matches up with who you actually are. I would say that's the biggest one when these guys start talking to GMs.
definitely. I mean, loads of people are talking about marketability. You know, they're worried about it. Like, oh, I can't say this because the GM won't like that or whatever. Like, maybe people are worrying too much about that. They're worrying about impressing. They're telling the GMs what they want to hear rather than being themselves.
Yeah, I think that's the right phrase. They're telling people what they want to hear, and that's not a good way to get anywhere really.
Yeah, no, definitely not. Well, they'll get found out eventually. I mean, if they're not really being themselves, because your true personality will come out at some point.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I'm hoping, not hoping, but like I would love to see that personality come out in the content that these teams are going to create, because I would love to see a guy behind the scenes sort of act a little bit different than we see on camera, just because that makes for interesting content and hopefully
Yeah, definitely.
interesting programming as well. So
Yeah.
we're a few days into 2018. The 50-win qualification process is here. We've started to see screenshots come around of guys who have already grinded to 50 wins. What are some of the things you've been seeing on Twitter about, like we're grinding today? Like I forgot, has there anyone who's officially hit 50 yet? I know there's a handful of people.
Yeah, there's a fair few. I know Goofy has from Good Life, then About the Game has from HG. The official DC3 from New Lane, I know he hit 50. There's a fair few as well. I don't know off the top of my head, but I know that there's a few. I think Ramo might have as well. I'm not too sure.
Yeah, it's
So
hard to
I
it's hard to keep up.
Yeah, it's crazy. And everyone's posting screenshots. My timeline's been full of people just all talking about, oh, I've got this amount of wins. I beat this team, but I have this amount of wins. It's crazy, like.
Yeah, I think it's especially since we're just now into the process. I think there's a lot of excitement. I'll be interested to see how that holds throughout the month when the majority of players have already qualified. I want to see what the what the community is going to be like. What is the excitement going to be? But hopefully there will be some new announcements or new events to keep the excitement level up.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like most people, some people have already achieved it, but I mean, most of the people who really want this, who are really grinding and putting in loads of effort, they're already halfway through at the very least. So, I mean, I feel like the excitement might die down. We're only 2 days in, and some people are already finished. So, I mean, what's the next 25 days going to look like?
Exactly. Um, and that was a conversation. It's an older one, but I guess we can talk about it now. As far as the number being 50 to qualify, what are your thoughts on that? So the people I talked to, and I personally think it's a little bit low, but I understand why they made it that number. But I'm just curious, what are your thoughts?
Well, I can see why they put it at 50. They've kept it open so as many people as possible can achieve it. So even if you don't play the game 10 hours a day like some of the top players do, you can still do it. 50 wins in a month, it's definitely achievable.
Hmm.
Even that's one win, like 2 wins a day, 3 wins a day. Like that's very achievable. So I see what they're doing there. Like they're trying to maximize the amount of talent they can get through to round two. But then also they haven't really narrowed it down from good to great or even average to good, because I feel like if you're if you're not terrible at the game, you'll get it in a month. Like in a month,
No, I mean I think
like
that's totally fair to say. Like someone could have just picked it up on January 1st, and then all of a sudden they've qualified just by trying to get one or two or three wins every day they play. So no, you're not wrong about that. It's just funny to hear you say that.
yeah, no, it sounded kind of harsh when I was saying it, but when you think about it, I mean, it's kind of true. Like a month is a long time, and 50 wins isn't that much. I mean, Island Gang, they've got maybe 700 games played since the start of the year, and it's only been out what 4 months, 5 months.
That's insane.
Like that's crazy, the amount of time that they put into it. So I feel like 50 is definitely achievable. It might have been too low.
Yeah. I mean, they just created more work for themselves in the second stage of evaluation, but if they want to make sure everyone gets in, that nobody slips through the cracks, they picked the right number. Also, as a reminder,
Yeah, definitely.
be on the lookout for the form. I would hate to see a good player qualify with 50 wins and then not fill out the form online and not be eligible for the next stage of the process. So please
Yeah, I hate to miss that.
stay locked in on Twitter for when the form gets announced. Um, that would be an absolute shame to see one of the some of the better players like put in all the work, get the 50, and then oh you didn't fill out the form. That would suck.
That would be horrendous. Forgetting that, like that'd be such a bad mistake to make.
So I guess the final question is, what are you most excited about for this upcoming season of NBA 2K League?
Well, general, I'm excited about the whole thing. The idea of even a pro am league just excites me so much. But I think the main thing, if I was to say one thing, is just it's going to be seeing loads of people from the community get drafted and really be playing 2K for money. Because I mean, like unofficially, people have been doing it, at the MPBA, but
Mm-hmm.
now it's the NBA. Like it's moved up so much. Even I've only been in the community 9 months, like not long at all. But even then, seeing everyone come up from what we were at then to what we're at now, it's crazy. And I've made so many good friends, met a lot of nice people through this community, and seeing all of them reach their goals and that kind of thing, that'll just be great.
That's awesome, and it's great that you're you're most excited for the players in the community and people you know. That's something unique I found when I first got involved with the community. Um, I was blown away with how people are so open to like, hey, like I'm running tonight. I need pure athletic finisher or something like that, and then people are retweeting, helping them find that game, and that's something I haven't really seen in a lot of esports community. That kind of communication. Now, of course, like there's trash talk in any level of competition, but that's something I think is unique to this community. Their willingness to share with each other and to share, especially on Twitter. I couldn't believe how active this thing was on Twitter. As soon as I got involved, like my timeline is just filled with NBA with 2K guys now. So it's an interesting transition from what my Twitter timeline used to look like.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
It's definitely different, the 2K community, but it's great. Like when it comes down to it, everyone's open and everyone's friends at the end of the day. So
Yeah, well, I mean,
like everyone wants to see each other succeed. Really, I mean.
yeah, I would agree with that. For the most part, there's always a couple people who are just in it to like troll people, but I would say for the
Yeah,
most part,
definitely.
you're right. Um,
Yeah, well, there's always going to be some exceptions.
yeah, of course, but we can't worry about that. We're too into this thing already, especially these players. Like, can't worry about the trolls. Just got to keep playing.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, man. Hey, thank you so much for coming on the first episode. Really appreciate it, guys. Thomas Lynch, as you can see the whole interview, you know where to follow him on Twitter. You know where to follow him on YouTube. Check this guy out. He produces amazing NBA 2K League content. Thomas, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks for having me.